think if I hadn't been brought up in a household with my dad being part of a roots revival group playing bass guitar, and my mum being such an avid Osmonds and Terence and D'Arby fan, I don't think I would have been influenced by the kind of music that has ultimately kind of put me where I am now. So I think the pop side of things was definitely from my mum, and the kind of more urban R&B, hip hop, reggae, ragga from my dad. There was one point where I really decided, I thought, now is the time I want to kind of take this seriously, this whole music thing. And up until that point, I'd just been like writing songs and just enjoying the process of not having any pressures of a commitment, of having a certain date to write to. I was just like, hey, I was a kid having fun. I must admit, I did feel at one point the DJing was going to be something that I could go all the way through, because I love playing other people's music. You knew that there was always going to be a continuation of great songs that you could go and buy. It's the only thing that was difficult with DJing was there's such a competitive kind of area. There's so many people wanting to do it, and you had to have that little something extra, which I guess I could pick up the mic and I could harmonise and sing over the tracks and I could MC. So I had a little something on a lot of the other DJs. But it wasn't from inside. I wanted to be the guy who was being put on the deck and being played and see the crowd reacting to the song rather than me just being the guy who plays it. It was an amazing feeling to walk into a studio in London, hearing, I think it was Corey, who was one of the guys from Damage, singing this song that I'd been like singing 1,000 times before, thinking, well, it's never going to win the competition, is it? And he's blasting this song out as I'm walking in, and I'm thinking, wow, this is crazy. And at the time, Damage were a really big thing here. So it gave me a real satisfaction, something that was one stage away from me actually being the artist and actually singing, but being the songwriter and the author of something and seeing them kind of have so much fun with it was a point where I thought, well, if they think that I can write a song and this song is on the B-side of their #3 hit, then maybe I've got a little something to take it. The Artful Dodger link-up was because Mark Hill, who's one half of the Artful Dodger, was DJing in the same club that I was playing at. And I'd met him a couple of years prior to meeting him in this club when I did a Let's Kick Racism Out of Football for Southampton Football Club. And I was doing some vocals on that. It was supposed to get played at half-time, but never did. But it was for a cool cause. Then I met up with him again in the club, and he was like, well, I'm producing. I haven't got an artist. I haven't got someone who's writing songs that I can put music around. And I was like, well, this seems like a perfect marriage here. So I took all these songs I've been writing, went into the studio with him, and the next time we just went to town having fun again. It was about 5 minutes away from my home where his studio was. So the next thing we started doing some tracks together, and it was a good chemistry. It worked really well. I got my deal just after Rewind had gone to #2. I was on the brink of sort of being signed just around that time, and I had people who were interested, some who wanted to do development deals and thought, well, we need to develop this kid, even though the song Rewind had just got at #2 in the charts, and I don't know how much more development you really needed to go. Maybe they wanted me just to get to #1, then he'd be ready. And then there was this one little company called Wildstar who had followed my demos all along the way, since Walking Away was one of the first songs I did. And next thing they said, you know what, we'll sign you. We'll sign you anyway, even before you came with 7 days and film me in. But we're going to go with you on the basis of Walking Away, and the next thing it sort of did its thing. The basis of the first album was mainly recorded at home in Southampton prior to me actually getting signed. So Walking Away was one of the first songs I demoed, and then later on down the line I came up with Fill Me In, and then 7 Days came along. And by that time, I think it was kind of, for the A&R guy who actually was like, we're going to sign this kid, it was kind of a bit of a no-brainer for him then, because he thought, well, for you to only be 15, 16 and to have written Walking Away, we think you've got the potential to write more songs, but he wasn't 100% certain. And then I sort of tried to come up with the goods, and he was like, yeah, let's do this. But it was wonderful to not have any pressure writing the first one. That's why it's a round album that was mainly produced by Mark, and it was just our whole, me growing up from my 15 to 18, just writing this album, which was cool. I was quite excited about the whole kind of Brit Awards fiasco, as everyone was making out, because I knew like the day before, or a couple of days before, it was about to be printed on the front page of The Sun that Craig had been snubbed by the Brits. And I thought, oh, this is really exciting. I thought, wow, how am I at the front page of The Sun? I mean, there's all these like world catastrophes going on, and they think that I am worthy of putting up there for people to read about. So that was quite exciting. The Brit Awards, I just thought being nominated for 6 was pretty cool. because I'd never been really all about awards. I get more satisfaction from having my record played on radio and knowing that that one song at that one time is affecting millions of people. Be it that you're making love, you're having an argument, you're breaking up, you're at work, just all these different emotions are going on while you hear that song. So with the Brit Awards, it was like, okay. And I got to the Brit Awards, we were performing, which I was really looking forward to. And then Elton John stepped up and said some really cool words at the podium. And then U2 dedicated One to me and sang Walking Away, which was like, that was a memorable moment. I was like, wow. So it turned out to be a really cool moment, actually. More so than what other people, I think, thought. They were like, oh, Craig, you must be so gutted. And I was like, well, check it out. It was a really amazing night. I just had my eyes open, and I went in there, I was like, hey, I'm going to approach this the same way I did here in the UK. And I'm going to just sing my songs, do my acoustic stuff, tour here with my band, and just really work it, because I think it's such a massive place. You can be very naive to think you can go to America, do a couple of weeks of promotion, you may have sold millions of albums outside of America, and be like, hey, embrace me because I am making it happen everywhere else. Where it doesn't really work there. It's like it's completely its own entity in itself. They're like, well, that's really nice you've done that there. And you could be blasted on radio, but we have no care about that. What's your relevance to us here? So we worked it, and I didn't expect to sell so many copies of the album over there. We won an army of fans. So it paid dividends, but I think in hindsight, I look back and I think it was at the price of doing that, or was losing the momentum a lot of what I was doing back in Europe and in the UK. But I think now it all kind of makes sense. It all paid off in its own little way, which was cool. It's wonderful to think that I've come from little old Southampton in the UK and have been able to cross the Atlantic and to make an impression in America. I think it's not really to do with necessarily the quality of what we have here in the UK, because I think we have some of the most amazing acts, and acts like Coldplay have made a big impression, and David Gray, because they're people who are talented and have gone over there and said it's all about music. We're not trying to sell you this perception. And that's the same thing I think with me. I went over there and I wasn't trying to say, hey, I've sold millions of albums. I was like, I'm a newcomer, I'm gonna have to work as hard as anyone else here. I'm gonna have to do these tiny little shows to 10 people or one program director and perform an acoustic performance just for you when I've just come away from doing Wembley Arena and to thousands, and work it. And I never had that bitter feeling of, why am I doing this? Why don't I just forget America and go back home? Because I wanted to see if my music could penetrate that market, and it did, and it was crazy. And it's lovely to be part of this English wave of music that's making a lot of grounds over there. I watched the film Leon, and on the rolling credits of that film, it plays out on Sting's Shape of My Heart. And I love the guitar melody, and I thought, I need that, I want that. So I sampled the guitar melody, bought the CD, sampled the song, and then next thing I wrote the top line of Rise and Fall over it with the lyrics of how quick you can have that success that can be taken away. And I had to send it off to Sting to ask if he could clear the sample. So I sent it off and he came back to me, and I was expecting him to be like, well, it's a beautiful song in the way I've written it, I don't want you to mess the whole thing up. But then he came back and said, you know what, I'll clear the sample, and also I really like what you've done with the song and the kind of road that you've taken, the lyric is very poignant. And it just had my mind spinning, and I thought, how cool would it be to have Sting on the hook of this song, in a way giving you a visual of the song, of him giving me advice, saying, well look, I'm someone who's been in the game for such a long time, I'm a veteran, and I'm having X amount of success, you could see. And I like to kind of explain to you, Craig, this guy who's having this up-and-coming rise, to not get caught up in these compromising situations that may lead you to your fall. So next thing, he came to the studio, and next thing there he was in front of me in the vocal booth. I'm thinking, wow, this is Sting, how did I get to here? It's very crazy. I think right now in my life, I've grown up so much quicker than I could ever imagined growing up. A lot of people, when they ask me how old I am and I say 22, they're like, you're not 22, are you? 28, 29. I say, what? I've grown up that fast. And then we come back to like, you seem to come across like you're a lot older, Craig. And I'm kind of a believer of having old souls. And I just think that the people that I hang with seem to be a lot older than me. And I like to kind of gain experience through wisdom, and I love to ask questions. So right now, I'm kind of at a point where I just want to enjoy what I'm doing with my music, because life's too short to kind of be worrying about things, about where am I going to be in 10 years time, and what if I do this and what if I do that. All I can do is write songs. Hopefully people will enjoy them. There's going to be critics out there who will absolutely slam me. We have to take it with a pinch of salt and be like, well, hopefully my music will please the masses, and along the way I can enjoy a kind of a fruitful life. And I'm having a great time at the moment. I never thought in a million years I'd be doing all this stuff. And I hope I can be around for as long as Sting and Elton John and Eric Clapton and Babyface, and be around and people can say, wow, do you remember that guy who started off in little old Southampton, and inspire other people to kind of go out and take on the world. Because there's so many opportunities that get thrown at us we never take, and that's what I think you have to jump on.